Today was a day more than any other that mankind looked at itself and declared, "The future is here." A machine had been invented that could instantly transport objects, and even people, from one place to another. Shipping centers and airports were replaced by teleportation centers across the globe. Travel suddenly became instant and cheap. But how does this teleportation system work exactly? Well, to answer that question, let's ask our senior lecturer here at Cornell University, Professor Padilla.
So what is teleportation? It is simply the transport of atoms instantaneously from one destination to the other. And these machines may have been a boon to society. Some argued that it didn't exactly just teleport the person, it also killed them. Because the way the machine works, they don't use the exact same atoms in the exact same position. So what came out on the other side was merely a copy, and what remained was destroyed. Now let's examine our diagram more closely. Now the teleportation devices were considered teleportation because the effect appeared instantaneously. However, what if we were to modify the machine not to teleport you to another location, but perhaps 1,000 years into the future? Now could the entity that comes out on the other side be considered the same person despite all that time in non-existence? But worse still, what if we were to modify our machine not to teleport you instantaneously or 1,000 years into the future, but instead 10 seconds into the past? The person at arrival would be able to see the first final moments of life, and at that point, know they were a clone. So I ask all of you, is this resultant being a time traveler or a clone?
This lecture affected some more than others, but it affected our protagonist arguably the most. He watched in horror as clones came out of the machine, believing they were men and women who had lived long lives when they had only been created a moment before.
Do you guys not realize that you guys are not the same people that went into that damn teleportation machine?
What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
That machine is killing millions!
What are you talking about, dude? Yeah. Yo, anyways.
But his arguments were too abstract and the convenience of instant travel too great. He felt hopeless as millions marched to their deaths every day just to save a bit of time. The greatest genocide of all time was taking place right in front of the world's very eyes, and instead of battling against it, the world cheered it on as progress. Few would even listen to his arguments, and even for those who would, the conveniences of the machine far outweighed such an abstract fear.
How are you doing, sir? I haven't seen you in so long.
It's been a while. Doing alright.
Yeah, how's the family? How's Sarah?
Sarah's alright. You know, she and the kids. Just a stress, man. Just lots of stress. And work is getting hard. And fucking teleportation machine. You know, all these fucking people.
Well,
I have a big issue with that machine.
well, sir, you look very worn out. Would you like something to drink?
Absolutely.
The usual?
Yep, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Would you like a half full or
No.
full shot?
Half full's alright, you know. Sarah wants me to cut on the drink, you know what I mean? Yeah, fuck, is it irritating like this, man?
It's better for your health, sir.
24/7.
There you go, the usual.
Thank you so much.
And sir, would you like a refill?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
it was.
just give me the usual.
Okay, sir. Right away. Here's the freshly squeezed orange juice.
Thank you.
OJ? On a Friday night, you're drinking OJ, man.
Hey, don't knock on it. I work hard.
You work smart, don't we all fucking work hard.
Wait a minute. Aren't you the inventor of the teleportation machine?
I am. Yeah.
Wow. Can I ask you something?
Go ahead. Yes.
This has been bothering me all day. I saw this YouTube video, and it really changed my mind.
Professor Badia's lecture.
That's
about
right. That's right.
teleportation.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. The same one. And can I ask you something though? Does that machine reassemble the same person with the exact same molecules in the exact same place?
Individual atoms are rearranged, if that's what you're asking. They do move around.
Aha! I knew it. Do you know what you're doing? You're killing millions and millions of people and creating clones in their place.
Listen, man, surely you don't think that you are the individual atoms that make up your body, now do you? One carbon atom is identical to the next, and every day your body flushes out and replenishes these atoms, yet you say nothing of copies. You are not the atoms in your body, but a pattern of atoms. It is your consciousness that is an emergent feature of this pattern, not of any individual atoms. This pattern is transported and maintained. Though, of course, there could be a small break in consciousness, no more than a good night's sleep or being knocked unconscious. And if you can survive that, then you certainly can survive my machine. Good day.
He did not sleep that night, wondering if only death awaited him. As time passed, he started losing all hope. He knew he could only hold out a day or two before his body betrayed him and he drifted into that unconsciousness they call sleep. And this thing he called myself would vanish forever, only a memory of it remaining for the next life. He did not go to work that day. No man would spend his only day on earth at the office. Instead, he wandered the city aimlessly. Anxiety consumed him left and right as he tried to think of what he should do with the short time left on earth. No single activity seemed worthy to take up the whole of his remaining time. He awoke suddenly on a bus. He had drifted off to sleep, to death! Remembering the last couple of days, he decided the most sensible thing to do was to grab whatever small pleasures he could from his all-too-short life. Though it did little to ease his anxiety, he took what he could from his moment of life. However, his money quickly ran out. The days passed on, each life more wretched than the last. Desperate for reprieve, he wanted nothing more than to forget it all, but he knew of no way to destroy an idea. He cursed his previous lives for their greed, leaving each life worse than the last. As he looked at the gorgeous for the first time, he felt ready for death. As he stood on the edge, thinking of all his many past lives, and all of his lives that had yet to come, he thought it was his duty to save them from their short, miserable existences. But then he wondered what right he had to take their lives, as horrible as they might be. He was connected to them only by his imagination, and them to him by only their memory. To kill himself would be to, at the same moment, murder all of them. This man was not a murderer. Instead of killing them without a choice, he could perhaps give them a chance at peace. He would leave this place and start anew in a far, green country, far, far away. He returned to a familiar place, but this time as a patron. He thought of all his past lives, so many of them miserable and tormented, and for what? All for this idea which had overtaken his mind. The idea that life is short. Of course all lives were short, but his were a mere moment. But was brevity alone enough to cause meaninglessness? He wondered if perhaps there was another way. What if they were wrong to destroy the idea? Was there a way to live with it, and perhaps through his sacrifice his future selves could find a way to accept death the way he had? By accepting it, they could live their brief lives without anguish, perhaps even with joy and meaning. It was too late for him, of course. Death was upon him. He hoped that his next life would look back at him fondly. He hoped they would remember how he had not sacrificed the future for his own desires. The machine began to hum. It was time. There was a bright flash of light, then darkness. He emerged from the other end of the machine, a new man. His past lives faded away. They seemed like nothing more than a distant memory. He realized what fools they had been, just chasing petty pleasures. He hitched a ride to the countryside. He now saw clearly what he had known for some time. There could be no grand meaning in a life so short, nor in a longer one. How could he have thought to overcome such a problem with hedonism? His recklessness robbed his future selves of everything, while giving nothing of value to the present. He then realized a much greater truth, obvious though it was. His future selves were of exactly the same importance to him as all other future selves. So if he were to stop robbing his future selves, he must equally, and logically, in equal measure, stop robbing all future selves. He found a job doing farm work in the country. Each day he worked, each night he sat alone with his thoughts. The days passed, the months passed, the years passed. Each day was the same pleasant cycle. He spoke little to the townsfolk, but when he did, he was very cheerful. He was patient, he was kind. Mostly they also wanted little to do with him and regarded him as an old fool, although a few treated him almost like a holy man. Whatever money he earned from these jobs he gave away, for he knew he had no claim on it. No one can possibly earn the money they have, for it isn't them who earned it, but a past self. Anyone else has an equal right to it, so he gave whatever he could to those who was poorest. For he knew what it was like to have a life poisoned by the foolishness of your past.
Oh, thank you, Yuzuel. Thank you, Yuzuel. Thank you.
The years passed, time went by, he became old and very ill.
Alright, Mr. Nanda, I hate to have to tell you this, but I'm afraid that there's not much time for you left.
Thank you, Doctor.
Mr. Nanda, I don't think that you understand. You are going to die.
I know.
He had died 1,000 deaths throughout his life. He feared not one more. He felt only a pang of sadness that his memories would not be passed on. Mostly, however, he reflected happily on the thoughts of himself and his past lives. He thought his moment of life was perhaps the greatest of them all. Although he had to endure the pain of illness, as the last man he had the memory of all his previous selves, whereas each of them would never know the thoughts of those who came after. And so he passed peacefully into the void for the last time.